In the late 19th century, early settlers arrived in southeastern Washington state. What they discovered was the dry and arid climate of the West, a land thirsting for water. The region receives very little rainfall, which means they would depend on irrigation, one of humanity's greatest engineering feats. With irrigation, their society could grow and prosper. But when a resource is rare, it becomes much more valuable. And so began the complicated politics of water resource management in the region. Here in the Tri-Cities, water is delivered in part by the Kennewick Irrigation District, or KID, originally formed in 1917. KID flows over 33 billion gallons of water to farms, homes, parks, and businesses each year. That's more than 50,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools, or enough water to fill up the Empire State Building over 120 times. But the entire region still faces the same challenge it always has: a low water supply. And for KID, this challenge is uniquely complex. To understand why, we need to go back to those early settlers who first introduced irrigation into the political landscape. As demand for water increased, the West began pressuring the federal government to invest in storage and irrigation projects through the reclamation movement. At that time, reclamation referred to how irrigation could reclaim arid lands for human use. Years of political back and forth led to the creation of the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation in 1902, the federal agency that still oversees water resource management today. This bureau authorized the expansion of irrigation through the Yakima Project, an effort to transform the Great American Desert around the Yakima River in what's known as the Yakima Basin. But throughout the 1940s, the basin experienced severe droughts, which fueled even more disputes over water use. This led to the 1945 Consent Decree, which established that water would be distributed proportionately in times of drought. The Consent Decree was significant because it was an official recognition that there was not enough water supply in the basin to meet demand. And yet, in 1948, KID was authorized as the last of 6 irrigation districts to join the Yakima Project. That's when KID built its modern canal system with its first official water delivery in 1957. So, if the low water supply couldn't meet demand, why did the Bureau allow KID to join in the first place? The answer is something called return flows. Basically, there are a lot of different water users drawing from the Yakima River, and there are 5 storage reservoirs in the basin. Water from the reservoirs is diverted from the river in the upper basin for use on farms, and a portion of this water is then returned to the river through return flows. These return flows are then diverted again by users in the lower basin, like KID, for use on farms, homes, parks, and businesses. It's only because of the abundance of these return flows that KID was allowed into the Yakima Project. But fast forward 50 years, and we see that these return flows have now significantly reduced. One issue is the reservoirs. They provide a total of 1 million acre-feet of water each year. But the total water need in the basin tops 2.4 million acre-feet. In other areas of the country, reservoirs tend to be much larger, for more than just annual use. But here, the small size of the reservoirs means that, even if they're full, it may still not be enough. So how has it been possible to meet all the demands in the Yakima Basin? The answer is snowpack, which is a seasonal buildup of snow on the ground. Snowpack is critical to the water supply each year. In fact, it's so important that it's often referred to as the 6th reservoir in the basin. Snowpack supply is critical, but the process is very specific. It has to be the right amount of snowfall, in the right place, melting at the right time. If any of these conditions are off, even slightly, supply will remain low. And climate change has made these precise conditions even more unpredictable. So with more rain and less snow each year, the basin will require more reservoirs to capture and store rainfall. And then there's the concern for the life cycles of salmon in the river. In 2013, after 30 years of litigation, and despite their competing political interests, a diverse group of stakeholders, including KID, created the Yakima Basin Integrated Plan to address this concern. It's a 30-year plan to improve water supply while enhancing habitats for fish and other wildlife. These efforts are necessary, but they haven't solved the supply challenge for the lower basin. In fact, the plan has actually resulted in even fewer return flows. In light of supply challenges over the years, KID established a capital improvement program back in 2006. This launched a new era of system modernization that continues today, including canal lining, system automation, building new reservoirs, and consolidating over 100 pump systems. KID is also working on acquiring water from the neighboring Columbia River to provide greater water security in these changing times. In many ways, KID still faces the same challenges as those early settlers in the West: an arid climate, severe droughts, and the need to share this valuable resource with many others in the region. On top of that, climate change, water conservation efforts, and system modernization in the upper basin continue to reduce supply. But in the face of all this, the district is proactive and cooperative. KID has never shied away from a challenge. And it's that commitment that will make this district thrive for the next 100 years. It's the resilient spirit of the West that will continue to make the desert bloom.